Myself, Sarita Yadav, from Dharavi Kalakela MPS Secondary School, would like to welcome you all to statewide online lectures held by Mumbai Municipal Corporation's Education Department. Okay, okay, students. Today, I'm going to give presentation on the subject Science and Technology Part 2, and my topic is lesson number 6, Animal classification, isn't it? Animal classification. We are going to study about animal classification, different varieties of animals, diverse animals which are present on earth. We are going to study about them in detail. Now students, classification of organism. Just let us recap which you have studied in 8 and 9 standard little bit, isn't it? Now you know organisms on our earth. There are variety of plants and animals in our surrounding. These living organisms are classified on the basis of their characteristics. Now what is characteristics? Features, isn't it? It can be different features which are exhibited by those plants and animals. And one of the scientists you have studied earlier in 9th standard about him, who was Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker, in the year 1969, he proposed his five kingdom system of classification. Okay, his five kingdom classification you had studied in 9th standard. And according to Whittaker, the five kingdoms, okay, the five kingdoms were Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. Just in short, let us go through with this five kingdoms or how the classification was done by Robert Whittaker. Now see students, there was one chart which you had studied in 9th standard. Just let us go through it. Robert Whittaker, he classified organisms into two types, that is prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Now prokaryotic and eukaryotic are the types of cells. Now what is the difference? I'll tell you in further slides. Further, prokaryotic, under the prokaryotic, Monera kingdom, the first kingdom, Monera was included. The second type, that is eukaryotic cells, were further classified into unicellular and multicellular. Now, unicellular and multicellular, that is the cell structure, okay, cell type. Unicellular means what? The cell body is made up of one cell. Multicellular, the organism's body is made up of many cells. Under the unicellular kingdom, Protista was included in that. Okay. Then multicellular organisms were further classified on the characteristic of cell wall. Whether the organism is having cell wall or whether the multicellular cell is lacking cell wall or present. Cell wall is present. So if cell wall is present, they were further classified on the basis of nutrition. What is nutrition? The way they prepare or obtain their food. Okay, and those two groups were autotrophic and heterotrophic. Now, what do you mean by autotrophic? See, auto means self, trophic means feeding. They can prepare their own food with themselves, okay, with the help of sunlight. And that's why plantae kingdom was included under autotrophic. The heterotrophic, hetero means they do not prepare their own food. They depend on someone else. It can be plants, it can be animals. Got it? So which group was included in that? Fungi or fungi. Then without cell wall, the organisms whose cell lacks cell wall, Animalia kingdom was included in that. Okay, so you can see the yellow boxes. Those are the five kingdoms classification, five kingdom classification given by Robert Whittaker. Those were Monera, Protista, plantae, fungi, and animalia. Let us further understand what is eukaryotic and prokaryotic. The first criteria for classification. Just wait a minute. Okay, living organisms, if you see, the first criteria for the classification was prokaryotic and eukaryotic. What is the basic difference between both of them? Now, when I say prokaryotes, okay, prokaryotes or prokaryotic cell, they lack true nucleus. If you can see in the picture, prokaryotic cell, there is no distinct nucleus, okay? In prokaryotes, membrane-bound organelles are absent. You know organelles which are present within the cell, they have membranes around them. Okay, so those organelles which have membranes, they were lacking, and the organisms which are included in prokaryotes are unicellular. Unicellular means the cell is made up of only one cell is present, and what are the examples? Bacteria, archaea. These are the examples of prokaryotic cells. Similarly, eukaryotes. What are eukaryotic cells? If you see eukaryotic cells, distinct nucleus is present. Okay, you can see distinct nucleus is present in the picture. In eukaryotic cells, membrane bound organelles are present. Membrane bound organelles like mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, these are all present in eukaryotic cells. Now, the organisms under the eukaryotes, they can be unicellular also and multicellular also. If I have to give examples, the examples of eukaryotes are plants and animals and etc. Especially the highly evolved organisms are included in eukaryotes. Further, this was the five kingdom classification, and you know the variety, the diverse nature of our surrounding. There are plants, there are various plants, and there are various animals present in our surrounding. And in ninth standard, you had studied about plant classification. Just quickly, we will go through it. Okay. Now, plant classification, if you see the plant kingdom, you know the diverse nature of plant. There are various types of plants present in our surrounding. Smaller ones, bigger ones, flowering ones, non-flowering ones, seedless ones, uh, fruit bearing, okay, so fruits having seeds enclosed in them. So various types of plants are present in our surrounding. Now this plant kingdom, okay, it was classified into two sub-kingdoms. What were the names? The names were cryptogamy and phanerogamy. First we will see the names, then I'll explain you each one of them. Okay, then cryptogamy was further classified into divisions. What were the three divisions of cryptogamy? Thallophyta, Bryophyta, and Pteridophyta. Got it? Whereas phanerogamy was further classified into Spermatophyta. Thallophyta of the cryptogamy was further classified into algae and fungi. Algae and fungi are included in Thallophyta. Phanerogamy, if you see, as I said, it is classified into Spermatophyta. Spermatophyta is further classified into gymnosperm and angiosperm. And then angiosperm is further divided into classes. That's two classes which are there. That is dicotyledons and monocotyledons. This was the plant classification you had studied in 9th standard. Let me quickly explain the meaning or the characteristics shown by each one of them. Now, as I said plants, they are classified as cryptogams and phanerogams, isn't it? Now, what are cryptogams? If you see cryptogams, they are flowerless or seedless plants. That means what? They are non-flowering. They do not contain seeds. They do not have seeds. Okay, these plants. Lower and more primitive plants. Primitive means ancient. Lower means they are not highly evolved. Say, thirdly, hidden reproductive organs. As I said, they do not bear seeds. So their reproductive organs like spores, they are hidden. Okay. As I said, reproduction is done by spores as they lack seeds. And what are the tree groups? As I said about cryptogams, they are further classified into thallophyte, bryophyte, and pteridophyte. Got it? So this was the basic characteristics you have to remember. Cryptogam, flowerless or non-flowering plants. Okay. Phanerogam's characteristics. This plant body is diploid in nature. They have their plant body is differentiated into true stem, leaves, and roots. Okay, true stem means what? They have developed stem, leaves, and roots present in it, present in the plant. Vascular tissues are present, which forms a vascular system. In ninth standard, you have studied about xylem and phloem and conducting tissues. These conducting tissues are present in phanerogams. Same way, sex organs are well developed and multicellular. They have seeds. They have male gamete and female gamete present in them. Okay. After fertilization, after fertilization, an embryo develops from fertilized egg. Okay, an embryo. If you see phanerogamies, as I said, male and female gametes are present. So what happens when this male gamete unites with female gamete? An embryo develops from that fertilized egg. Got it? This was the basic difference between cryptogamy and phanerogamy. But you have to remember, cryptogams are non-flowering, phanerogams are flowering. Let us go on to the next slide. As I said, classification of cryptogram. I'm going to explain each one. Cryptogams are further divided into three divisions. And what were the three divisions? Thallophyta, Bryophyta, and Pteridophyta. Let us see what are the characteristics or how these three divisions are different from each other. If you see Thallophyta, see the first point. Plant body is thallus-like. Okay, it looks like leaf, but it is not so well developed. Okay, so it looks like a thallus body. Plant body is thallus-like structure. Whereas Bryophyta, if you see, Thallophyta, you see there is no proper development. But if you see Bryophyta, they do not have true leaves, but true leaves and roots, but they do have root-like or leaves-like structure. Okay, that means what? They have some structures which look like roots, which look like leaves, but exactly they are not developed leaves and root. Whereas Pteridophyta, plants have true roots and true leaves. Okay, that means their leaves and roots are well developed in Pteridophyta. They have well developed roots, stems, and leaves. Even if you go to second point, as I said, Thallophyta is not that developed. So what happened? There is no specialized system for conduction. What do you mean by conduction? Conduction means the transportation of water and nutrients from one part to another part. That is done by conducting tissues, that is xylem and phloem. That is lacking in Thallophyta. But if you see Bryophyta also, again, no specialized system for conduction. That means even in Bryophyta, conducting tissues are not developed. But if you see Pteridophyta, as I said, they have a very well developed root, stem, and leaves. Even they have a very well developed conducting tissues. Okay, they have separate tissues for conduction of food and water. Third point, Halophyta examples if I have to give, algae. Okay, algae, algae, they are autotrophic. They do not have that well-developed plant structure. They do not have well-developed body. So even algae and even some fungi are included in Halophyta. What about Bryophyta? Bryophyta, if you see, as I said, they do have leaf-like and root-like structures. So what are the examples of Bryophyta? Moss, Funaria, or if I have to give more examples, Machentia, Anthoceros, Riccia, they are all included in Bryophyta. Pteridophyta, the well-developed root system, stems and leaves, even conducting tissues are well-developed. So what are the examples? If I have to give examples, ferns, ferns are decorative plants which are present in many decorative, they are used as a decorating plant in their houses. So ferns are present. Ferns is an example of Pteridophyta. Other examples, if I have to give, Pteris is there, Lycopodium is there, Neprolepis is there. Got it? So this was the basic difference between Thallophyta, Bryophyta, and Pteridophyta. Let us go on to the next slide. Let us study about phaner. Just now we saw cryptograms classification. What about phanerogams? Okay. Now phanerogams, as I said, it is flowering plant. Flowering plants. Now these phanerogams, flowering plants, are further classified into gymnosperm and angiosperm. Okay. Now gymnosperm, what are gymnosperm? If you see gymnosperm, they are mostly evergreen, perennial, and woody trees. Their stems are without branches. Okay, no, if you see, the branches are not that well developed. And if you see the leaves of gymnosperm, they form a crown-like structure at the top. But the main difference you have to understand, gymnosperm, the seeds of these plants, they are naked. Naked means what? They are not present within the fruit. The seeds are visible from outside. Okay, that's why it is called naked seeds. Naked means gymnos. Gymnos means naked and sperms means seeds. So that's why the name gymnosperm. Example, cycas is there, pine tree is there. Okay, now angiosperm. Now how angiosperm is different than gymnosperm? Now if you see angiosperm, they have seeds covered. Covered seeds are there. Okay, seeds are covered. That means what? The seeds are present within the fruit. That's why the name angios means cover and sperms means seed. So angiosperm. This angiosperm category is further classified into two types, that is monocotyledons and dicotyledons. Now what is monocotyledons? The plants which are having seeds with one cotyledon. Okay, the seeds that cannot be divided into equal parts. Such seeds or such plants are called monocotyledonous plants. Dicotyledons, what happens in this? These are the plants having seeds with two cotyledons. That means what? The seeds can be divided into two equal halves. That's or dicotyledons. That's why the name di means two. So dicotyledons. Example of dicotyledons, gram, peas, and all. Okay. Monocotyledons example I have given wheat and rice. Let us understand the basic difference between monocotyledon and dicots. In short, I'll say monocots and dicots. See the vascular bundle. As I said, vascular bundle in monocots. By the picture you can understand. See, it is scattered throughout the stems. You can see those spore-like structures. Okay, those are vascular bundles. They are scattered. But in dicots, if you see, it is arranged in ring-like pattern, isn't it? So it is arranged in ring in stem. Second one, seed. As I said, monocot, it is made up of one cotyledon. In the picture, you can see only one cotyledon is present. Whereas in dicots, two cotyledons are present. Got it? Flower. If you see flower in monocots, you can see flower parts. They are present in multiples of 3. Okay, whereas if you, and that's why they are trimerous, 3. Okay, whereas in dicots, the flower with 4 or 5 parts are, or in their multiples, are present. And that's why if it is 4, it is tetramerous. If it is 5, it is pentamerous. Next one, the leaves, the difference in the leaves. Okay, if you see this picture of leaf in monocot, there is parallel venation. You can see parallel lines in the leaf structure. Whereas in dicots, you can see several branching, isn't it? That is called reticulate venation. So in monocot, parallel venation is seen, and in dicots, reticulate venation is seen. Next, roots. How are the root system? How is the root present in monocot? The root present in monocot is fibrous root. Okay, you can see in the picture how fibrous root is different. Okay, fibrous means what? One main root is divided into many, and you can see several branching, isn't it? In dicots, taproot system is present. One main root is there. From that, you can see smaller roots evolving from it, isn't it? And examples of monocot, orchids, wheat, rice, bananas, these are all example of monocots. Whereas dicots, you can see the examples oak and maple trees, cactus, sunflowers. Got it? So this was the basic difference between monocot and dicots. Students, we saw classification. This all was classification of plants. But what about animals? Isn't it? Just now we discussed about plants. But what about animals? If you see around us, there is lot of variety of animals around us, isn't it? Now, talking about animals, when we talk about animals, you know the diverse nature of animals found around us in our surrounding. These animals, see, approximately, according to a recent study, the estimated number of animal species on Earth is about 7 millions. Okay, 7 millions of animal species are estimated. Now, it's not 7 millions of animal, it is 7 millions of animal species. So you can understand the diversity present in animals. Let us see how this diversity is seen, on what basis or on what characteristic. See the first one, some animals are small. Second one, some animals are big. If you see this two classification, this is on the basis of their sizes, isn't it? Some animals are small, some animals are big. I don't have to give examples. You can see very well in the pictures. Small and big animals. You can identify them. Same way, where are they found? Some animals are terrestrial. That means what? They are found on land. Some animals, some animals are aquatic. That means found in water. Some animals are found on land and water. Some are found on mountains. Some are found in desert regions. Some are found on polar regions. So everywhere you will, in every habitat, you will find different types of animals. Next point. Some animals crawl on land, some swim in water, some fly in air. Now, you can understand there are some animals which crawl on land, isn't it? You can see in the pictures like centipede is there, snakes are there, reptiles are there, they crawl on land. Some swim in water. No need to tell who swims in water, fishes and all. Some fly in air. Again, birds fly in air. Same way, there is one more characteristics on which it can be classified. See the next picture. There are some animals which have scales on their skin. Tough scales are present on their skin. Like birds, what they have, do they have scales? No, they have feathers. Then some animals, they have hair or fur present on their body. This was few characteristics by which we can see the diversity present in animal kingdom. Okay, now we are going to begin with our chapter, that is main topic, animal classification. We are going to study about it. Now see, there is huge diversity among the animals too. So already we discussed what is the diversity or huge variety seen in animal kingdom. Okay, so it becomes very impossible to study about each and every species or animal. So what is needed is systematic classification. There has to be some pattern, some classification or some way by which we can study about them easily. Okay, and that led to animal classification. Now, what is animal classification? See the definition. Formation of groups and subgroups of animals depending upon similarities and differences among animals is called animal classification. Now, see, when we compare two animals, we can see what is the similarity and what are the differences present in them. So, accordingly, we can differentiate them. We can separate them in different groups. If they have similar properties, we can include them in same group, isn't it? So, that is called animal classification. Now, see, when animal classification was done, as I said, there has to be some benefits, isn't it? Now, what are the different benefits of animal classification? It can be asked for 2 marks question or 3 marks question. Okay, the first point, study of animals become convenient. As I said, on the basis of their characteristics, it was classified. Okay, they were put into groups and subgroups. So to study about them, it became more convenient. Second one, by studying few animals from each group, understanding the entire groups become easy, isn't it? Suppose if we are studying one group and we took 2 3 animals from that group and we study about them in detail, we study about their characteristics which are shown, the nutrition, the way of nutrition, where are they found, habitat. Okay, so if we study about those 2 3 animals, we get the idea of other animals also which are included in that group. Third one, it gives better idea about animal evolution. Now, what is evolution? Okay, uh, in lower classes, you have studied about Darwin's theory of evolution. See, over a period of time, there have been changes in animals which have made them capable of surviving or adapting to different environment, different factors, isn't it? So, even animal classification, if we see over the period of time what changes have been there in those animals, so that how they have evolved, how they are able to adapt, that can be studied. Animals can be easily identified with great accuracy, isn't it? Yes, if animals are put into groups and subgroups, so then there will be no confusion in identifying them. There will be accuracy in their identification. We will not go wrong. Okay. Next, The relationship of animals with other living organisms is better understood. Now, in our environment, all living organisms, whether it is plants or animals, they are dependent on each other, isn't it? You have studied about food chain and food web. So, the relationship of animals with other ones, it can be better understood with the help of animal classification. Even animal classification helps us to understand the habitat of each animal and its exact role. See, what is habitat? The surrounding or the surrounding where they are found. If you go to desert region, there are particular types of animal found. If you go to if you see aquatic life, particular type of animals are fishes and all are found in water. If you see polar regions, the animals which are found there, they have particular characteristics. So it helps us to understand the habitat, okay, and what is their role in nature, how they are contributing in nature, that can be understood with the help of animal classification. Next point, it helps to understand various adaptations shown by animals. Now, what is adaptation? Okay, let me give me an example. If you go to desert region, you have seen camels, isn't it? Now, desert region, you know how the climate is harsh, water is less, water scarcity is there. So accordingly, the animals which are found over there, they have adapted over there. Okay, they have some changes or adaptation in their body to fit into that environment. So that those adaptations can be studied with the help of animal classification. Next, after the benefits of animal classification, we are going to study about history of animal classification. Just wait a minute. Okay, in short, you don't have to by heart this, but just to give you an idea, the history about animal classification. Who were the different scientists who have contributed in animal classification? Okay, the artificial method, the first scientist was Aristotle. After Aristotle, now, there were scientists like Theophrastus, Roman Pliny, John Ray, Linnaeus, who did their classification on the basis of body size, habits, and habitats. Okay, they were called as artificial method. Their classification was called as artificial method. The next scientist was Dobzhansky and Mayer. Now, these two, their classification was called as natural system of classification. Okay, and what was the basis for their classification? The types of cells which are present, the biochemical properties, the body organization, types of chromosomes. That was the criteria for their classification. The next one was Carl Lewis. Okay, now Carl Lewis, what he did, his method was called as traditional method, and that the criteria was presence or absence of notochord. Let us see what is this notochord or what is this traditional method. Okay, now traditional method of animal classification, if you see, it depends upon presence or absence of notochord, and on the basis of this criteria, animal kingdom was divided into two groups, non-chordates and chordates. Let us see first what is notochord. A notochord, you can see in the picture also, it is a long rod-like supporting structure present on dorsal side of animal body. It keeps the nerve tissue isolated from, from the remaining body. Okay. Now, long rod-like supporting. So it's, if you see the shape, it is a long rod-like structure. It is a supporting, it acts as a supporting structure to the animal body. Okay, where it is present on dorsal. Now, what do you mean by dorsal? Okay, now you have to understand, because In further classification, these terms dorsal, ventral, anterior, posterior, anatomical positions you are going to study. So you should know the meaning. Okay. Dorsal means near the back or the upper surface or side of an animal. You can get idea by the looking at the picture. Where is dorsal? Isn't it? Ventral, to the front or lower side of an organism or the belly side of that organism. Anterior, towards the front or towards the head region. Posterior, situated at the back of something or away from the head. So these are few anatomical positions which you have to remember. As I said, on the basis of notochord, animal kingdom is divided into two types, non-chordates and chordates. Now, what do you mean by non-chordates? See the difference between them. Okay, non-chordates, body is not supported by notochord. That means what? Notochord is absent. Chordates, you will see body is supported by notochord. Notochord is present. Okay. Second point, pharyngeal gill slits are absent. For respiration, see gill slits are some animals, they have gill slits for respiration. That is absent in non-chordates. In chordates, these gill slits or lungs are present for respiration. Third one, nerve cord. If you see nerve cord in non-chordates, if present, okay, if present, that if is important. If present, where it is present? It is present on the ventral side. Ventral side. As I said, where is ventral side? Just now, see in the previous slide, I said ventral is to the front or the lower side of an organism. And it is solid in nature, it is paired. If it is present, it will be paired. In chordates, nerve cord is present, but on which side? Dorsal side. In non-chordate, it was on ventral. In chordates, it is present in dorsal side. And it is hollow. See, as I said, non-chordates, it is solid. But in chordates, it is hollow from inside. What about heart? Okay. In non-chordates, heart, if present, it is on dorsal side. And in chordates, heart is present on ventral side of the body. Now you can understand with your example. Our heart is present on the ventral side of our body as we are included in chordates. Okay. Next slide. There is a picture given in your textbook, that is conventional system of animal classification. Okay. Now let us quickly go through this. Kingdom Animalia is divided into two groups, non-chordates and chordates. Okay. Now this was on the basis of presence and absence of notochord. No, subkingdom non-chordates is further classified into 10 phylums. What are the 10 phylums? What are the 10 phylums? Okay. Protozoa, Porifera, Cnidaria, Platyhelminthes, Ascomynths, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Hemichordata. These are the 10 phylums included under the subkingdom non-chordates. Similarly, subkingdom chordates, that is further classified into the phylum Chordata, and then the phylum Chordata is further divided into subphylums, 3 subphylums. What are those? Urochordata, Cephalochordata, and Vertebrata. Got it? And this Vertebrata is further classified into 6 classes. What are the 6 classes? Cyclostomata, Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, Mammalia. Okay. If you see the next slide, it is the same, just another way of representation. Kingdom Animalia into 2 subkingdoms, chordates and non-chordates. And as I said, non-chordates is further classified into 10 phylums, which we are going to study in detail. Chordates is divided into phylum Chordata, which is further subdivided into subphylums, three subphylums, Urochordata, Cephalochordata, and Vertebrata. Vertebrata is further classified into six classes: Cyclostomata, Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, and Mammalia. Okay, now students, that was the topic which we studied. That was our first session on this lesson, animal classification. Now let me ask you few questions, very simpler ones. Okay, now see the first one. If you know the answer, you can unmute yourself and give me the answer. Okay, according to recent studies, estimated number of animal species on earth is approximately dash millions. Okay, can anyone give me the answer? It's very
Ma'am, can
easy.
I?
Yes,
7 million.
yes, 7 millions. Very good. Okay, very good. Yes, so approximately 7 million 7 million animal species are present on earth. Second one, depending upon presence of notochord, animal kingdom is divided into dash groups. Yes,
Ma'am,
yes.
five.
How many?
Five.
No, not five. See,
Two groups.
notochord. On the basis of notochord, just think over. Animal kingdom is divided into dash groups.
Ma'am, can I?
Yes, go on.
Depending upon presence of notochord, animal kingdom is divided into two groups.
Yes, very good. Okay, what's your name?
Anjali.
Okay, very good, Anjali. Third one, what is notochord? Just now I said, what is notochord? Come on, those who know the answer, anyone can unmute and answer. Yes? No one? Shall I give the answer? Students, it's very easy. What is notochord? Just now. See, notochord, just let me go to that slide. Then you will be able to answer. What is notochord? Can you see in that pink box? It is a long rod-like supporting structure present on dorsal side of animal body. Okay, so that is notochord. Fourth one, name the 10 phylums of non-chordates. Now this, you have to remember the 10 names of non-chordates, which we are going to study in detail in next session. What are the 10 phylums? Can anyone name them? Shall I put on the slide so you will be able to tell me the names? See, phylum, non-chordates divided into 10 phylums. Can you read out the names? Anyone?
Protozoa, Porifera,
Nidaria.
Cnidaria, Platyhelminths,
Platyhelminthes,
Yes.
Acelminthes,
and
Annelida,
Orthopoda,
Arthropoda,
Ska,
Mollusca,
Derma,
Echinodermata,
Hemiptera.
Chordata.
Yes, very good. Okay. So these are the 10 phylums of non-chordates. Okay. Ma'am? Yes, if anyone has any doubt, you can ask. Ma'am, I have finished with the topic. Shall I wind up? Hello? Hello, ma'am? Hello? Yes, anyone has any doubt? If you have any doubt, then I'll clarify it. Anjali, do you have any doubt? Ma'am? I think we can end our lecture now. Okay. Bye everyone. We will meet in the next session.